निर्गुण निराकार पर ब्रह्म सभी आकारों में, सभी गुण में, सगुण साकार रूप में विराजमान है। वही माँ है, वही मैं हूँ, वही मुझ में है, मेरे बुद्धि रूप में, मेरे मन के रूप में, मेरे शरीर के कण कण में वही है, उसके अलावा कुछ है नहीं। इस तरह से उस दैवी शक्ति को भीतर बाहर सब जगह जान लेना जीवन उत्सव बन जाता है। यही है नवरात्र।
जगो जगो धारिणी माँ, जगो जगो धारिणी माँ, जगो जगो धारिणी माँ, जगो जगो माँ।
Realize that you are totally dependent on the divinity.
जगो जगो माँ, जगो जगो माँ, जगो जगो माँ जननी।
In deep rest, divinity talks.
हे शिव रमणी जगो माँ, चंडी देवी, हे शिव रमणी जगो माँ।
जय गुरुदेव। वेलकम ऑल टू दिस वंडरफुल सेशन टुडे। हमारा सीरीज चल रहा है नवरात्रि का। डेली हमारे साथ सेशंस हो रहे हैं, अलग अलग स्पीकर्स आ रहे हैं। बट टुडे वी हैव अ वेरी वेरी स्पेशल गेस्ट विद अस. He is a TEDx speaker and he has released very recently his book on stories and sutras. He is a DSN teacher, he is a Yes Plus teacher, and he has taught so many youths and people and corporate across the world, not just in India, across the world. Today we have, as everyone knows in Art of Living at least, Virat Chirania ji. So it's my pleasure to welcome Virat Bhaiya to this session. And today he'll throw some light on different stories of Devis and what can we learn from them. Yes. So welcome Virat Bhaiya to this session. And we are eagerly waiting to hear from you today the stories of Devi.
Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. Jai Gurudev, everybody. Good evening. It's so nice to be here talking to all of you. So, India is the land of stories. I always say that, right? The world is not made up of atoms and molecules. It's made up of stories. And our stories are really special. And the stories of gods and goddesses, of divinity, of the Guru are even more special. So we grew up hearing these stories, but you can't ever get enough of these stories. ना ये कहानियां ऐसी हैं, evergreen हैं, कितनी भी बार सुने तो कुछ नया नया उसमें से सीखने मिलता है. So one story that I recently heard again is the story of Chandra Ghanta. So Navdurga mein one of the names that you hear is Chandra Ghanta, right? So let's hear this story. Yeah? And you hear the story with innocence of a kid. कैसे बच्चे लोग, their eyes become big when they are told ना कि चलो अभी कहानी सुनाएंगे. So like that. So long time ago, we don't know exactly how many years ago, but very long time ago, Parvati is praying, doing tapasya to have Shiva as her husband. And, when we talk about the Mother Divine or about the Lord, the words are not always sufficient or appropriate. So, but for the sake of storytelling, we use these words. But don't take them so literally, especially Indian stories. So anyway, so Parvati Ma is praying and Shiva is very happy. And he says yes to the proposal. He says, okay, we'll get married. And the big fat Indian wedding is planned, and Parvati's parents decorate the whole place. Everybody in town, all the subtle energies, all the Devis and Devatas, everybody is invited for this grand wedding. And Parvati is beautifully dressed like a bride, and the palace is lit up with like 1,000,000 diyas, and it's picture perfect. And we are waiting for the groom to come. Now, Shiva has to be the most interesting groom ever, because he's not just the lord of the devatas and the universe. He is the lord of anything which exists, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly. Everybody is included in his party. So, Shiv Ji ki Barat bolte hain na, when you have a collection of all kinds of people. So, Shiva's friends, Shiva's Baratis include devatas, include asuras, they include ghosts, spirits, they include people from the cremation grounds, they include animals, they include all types of creatures, the most diverse group ever. And they all come as Baratis, and Shiva himself is dressed, he's covered in ashes, and he's riding a bull, and he's wearing, he's not dressed like a groom, right? He's who he is. So when he comes to the doorstep, Parvati's mother actually faints. She's horrified and scared looking at Shiva's form, and she actually faints and collapses. And everybody in Parvati's family is very, very disturbed, very upset. Ki yaar, ye kaun aa gaya hai? Like, this is scary. And Parvati realizes it. Of course, she recognizes Shiva, because she sees beyond what he's wearing. Now, typically in a situation like this, Parvati would get very upset, and she would go and tell Shiva, ki yaar, come on, it's our wedding day. Couldn't you have dressed up appropriately? Like, come on. So she could have gotten upset, and she could have fought with Shiva and all of that. Instead, you know what Parvati does? She transforms herself into a grand form of divinity, and which is beautiful, but also looks ferocious. So she's riding a lion. She sits on a lion. She has multiple arms, some with weapons, and she opens up her hair, and she kind of matches Shiva now. And then she goes and talks to Shiva, saying that, look, I'm just like you know um, and I understand where you're coming from, and I totally love any form of yours, and I love every of your guests, all the Baratis. But this is our wedding day, and I request you to grace this occasion in a form that others can also understand. I can understand this form also, any form, or even formlessness. But for the sake of others, can you present yourself, please, in a more agreeable form? And Shiva is very pleased with the way Parvati approaches the situation, and he says, sure. And then he transforms himself into a form which is called as Kalyan Sundara, which is the most handsome, the most charming groom ever, ready for a wedding. And then, of course, everybody rejoices in Parvati's family, seeing that they have such a handsome, such a brilliant groom. And then the festivities carry on, and they get married, and so on and so forth. But every story teaches us something, right? So, Chandra Ghanta. Chandra means moon, and Ghanta is a bell. Now, typically, the moon is symbolic of the mind. And the mind goes in the past and the future, and the mind gets stuck in small, small things. And when we lose awareness, that's where the mind kind of tricks us, right? So, Ghanta represents awareness, a bell, which kind of brings your mind in the present moment, right? Now, if Parvati's mind was all over the place, if she's not in the present moment in that situation, she would not have responded with so much skill, right? Look at the way she handles this situation, right? She accepts the situation the way it is. She accepts the person the way it is. And people who have done the Art of Living course know what I'm talking about. So she accepts, and then she takes action. But she keeps her mind in the present moment. Yeah? And that is what is special about these stories, that they can bring you to such beautiful knowledge points. Right? Had she gone and told Shiva that, come on, why have you done this? And if she had fought with Shiva, it wouldn't be so beautiful. Yeah. But the way she handles this situation without upsetting Shiva, she makes Shiva realize who she is and how it can be, so much graceful, and then how the whole thing happens. So that's what struck me when I heard this story of Chandraghanta, that the mind being in the present moment will offer you solutions. After you accept, it'll offer you solutions, and that can help you solve the trickiest situation, right? Even on her wedding day, her family is collapsing, everything is going topsy turvy, she can hold herself and present a solution. Something to learn from this story. And another quick story that I just remembered is again how you use skill. So for me, one of the greatest learnings from these stories are always about how do I tackle this situation differently. Yeah, how do I use skill instead of strength? Yeah, what can I do in a situation which is very difficult, uh, and come out of that as a winner, without having to necessarily cause bloodshed, right? So Madhu Ketab are two demons, and Vishnu is fighting these demons, and for years they fight, and they are very strong demons, so Vishnu is not able to kill them. And then when you fight and fight and you don't find a solution and you're tired, what do? What do? We go, as kids at least, we used to go to our mother, isn't it? We would go to mom and say, I can't handle this, मुझे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, मैं क्या करूं, आप ही बताओ. And the mother is symbolic to somebody who has a solution to any problem, isn't it? That's how I look at it, right? कुछ भी जब तुम्हारे से नहीं होता है कुछ, you've tried and it doesn't work, and you're tired and exhausted and you're running out of ideas, and you need that faith and you need somebody to console you, that's the mother, right? And of course, you have one mother biologically, but the guru has played the mother to us, isn't it? And sometimes a friend plays the role of a mother. So that energy which always can give you a solution, yeah, which can always give you food, which can always give you love, there's never shortage of love, food, or solution. That energy is the mother, and the highest form of that energy is the mother divine. So Vishnu goes to Shakti, to the Devi, and says, look, I don't know what to do. And she says, well, use skill, don't just use strength. Kuch yukti lagao, skill. And then she gives him an idea. And Vishnu goes back to Madhu Ketab, and as per the Devi's advice, he says, you know what? I'm very pleased with you guys. I'm very impressed with your showcase of bravery and all of that. I'm very, very happy. Ask me for a boon. तो जाके ऐसे बोलते हैं विष्णु भगवान इन दोनों राक्षसों को, बोलते हैं तुम्हें जो चाहिए मांगो, वत्स, क्या मांगना चाहते हो, वरदान मांगो. And as planned, this has the desired effect. These two demons get very arrogant and very angry and say, तुम कौन होते हो हमें वरदान देने वाले? तुम तो अभी तक हमें हरा भी नहीं पाए. Who the hell are you to give us a boon? You know what? If you want a boon, you ask. तुम मांगो, तुम्हें क्या चाहिए, हम देंगे. Right? And that's exactly what Vishnu was waiting for. And as soon as they say, ask us for a boon, Vishnu says, fine, give me your lives. मुझे तुम्हारी मौत चाहिए. Yeah. And then they realize, oh my God, Vishnu has tricked us. And in the olden days, you cannot go back on your word. Yeah, it's like as good as a contract in today's world. And then of course there's more to this story, but in a sense, this is such an interesting example of keeping your strength aside, keeping your ego aside, using skill and playing with the weakness of the person in front of you, playing with the opponent's weakness. Vishnu knows the Rakshasas are very, very egoistic people. And he does exactly that. He pokes them just in the right place. And they fall for this trick, and Vishnu ultimately wins the battle. And there are many, many stories like that. I mean, I'm sure all of us have heard stories. But the joy is not just in the story. The joy is in understanding the symbolic representation behind the story, right? And that's what is the beauty of Indian uh, culture, Indian history, Indian mythology, that it's coded at many layers, with these meanings. And that's what is the uniqueness of Gurudev. When I started coming for Navratri in the beginning years of my journey, uh, I had attended many pujas before, and घर पे नवरात्रि celebration होता ही था, छोटे रूप में पूजा वूजा होती थी, but it didn't have so much of an impact on me. But the first time I attended Navratri in the ashram, and Guruji many times explains these stories, I was dumbstruck. I was like, wow, these stories are so deep. They have so many layers of meanings. And then, of course, thanks to Bhanu Didi and the book Parashakti, so many more stories. If you haven't read that book, you must read that book. It is a treasure trove of stories and the decoded the meanings behind them. So when you're in the presence of a guru and in presence of the Navratri celebrations, when you experience that, not just intellectually but experientially, these stories start becoming a part of your life. You actually start doing these things. The learnings translate into action, and that can only happen when you are a part of this yagya, the celebrations. So whether if you're coming to Bangalore ashram, great, we'll see you there. Otherwise, our pujas, thanks to VDS, all these pujas are happening across India. I know they're happening in Bombay, they're happening so many TOKs across India. So if you're in such a city, attend it there. Otherwise, no need to worry, they're happening online as well. You can sit at your home and get the benefits. And the beauty is you can even participate in Sankalpas sitting at home. So being a part of this celebration, being there physically, taking a sankalp in one of the different homas. We have so many beautiful homas lined up. I know you have the schedules already, but somewhere registering your participation, that you were there, and that's when blessings come multifold, and that's when these stories start happening uh, to us in our lives, sitting in 2022, sitting wherever you are. uh, this tradition of the Devi, the Navratri, is so alive in us. So don't think this is something, oh, I don't understand what's going on. Okay, I can just sit and meditate. I mean, that's the first level of faith. But the second level of faith is that knowing that this is alive today, that mantras, जो वहाँ पे मंत्र जाप हो रहा है, वहाँ पे जो यज्ञ हो रहे हैं, उसका मेरे जीवन में concrete impact है. And because I have the grace of a master in my life, these are stories that happen with me every day. Yeah? Shum nishum, right? Doubt, self doubt, or doubting others, or all these dhumralochan, clouded vision. Yeah? All these things, how do I get rid of them? Chanda and Munda, right? Wrong logic, or misplaced information, no logic at all. How do I overcome these demons? And how does the Devi do it? So every time you meditate, you do an advanced course, you participate in the yagyas, in the Navratri celebrations, you take a sankalpa, all these things actually start happening. Yeah. So, uh, I'd like to keep it short and pause here. But think about this. Yeah? We heard the story of Chandra Ghanta. Hmm? The mind being in the present moment, awareness, the mind tied with the bell of awareness. And that's when creative solutions come to you. Hmm? And we heard the story of Vishnu taking advice from the Mother Divine on how to deal with Madhu Katab, and using skill uh, to fight this war, and using a skill to make the opponent surrender. And this, how do I apply it to my life? That's the journey. So every day we are going to bring you more and more secrets of the Devi, stories, mantras, so many amazing things. Make sure you're tuned to this, and make sure you're a part of the Navratri celebrations, whether in the ashram or in some city, or online. Yeah. I'd like to pause here unless we have some questions. Um, Sagar?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bhaiya, for these wonderful stories that we just shared. So I think right now there are no more questions. I think people are there in the stories. They are in their own, mesmerizing. समाधि लग जाते हैं जैसे गुरुदेव कहते हैं ना. So very much thank you to Bhaiya for joining us today. He had a very busy schedule. He was traveling. He was teaching DSN last week, and today also he has a lot of sessions. But still, he took out some time because we requested him to. And from tomorrow the puja start on Amavasya the puja start. Rudra puja kal sham se hi rahega. So you can join us. And tomorrow again 9 p.m. we'll be there with another speaker on YouTube Vedic pujas and Facebook Vedic pujas. So thanks a
Wow.
lot everyone for joining. Thanks
Thank
again.
you, everybody, for joining. Happy Navratris. See you. Jai Gurudev.